Hey, so Josh SJPORR. Here is the Imperial IPA that I'm going to be sending you. It's not quite as clear as I'd like it to be, but you can see the color's nice, and the aroma smells really, really good. We'll see if you like it. Hey, happy Homebrew Wednesday. I think this is episode 22. And I'm not doing any brewing or anything today. No beer footage. But what I am doing is packing up my entry for the it's time for SJPORR challenge. So before I get to that though, look what I found in the beer store that's next to my house. Punk IPA. And I don't know if you've seen the Brew Dogs episodes, but this is one of their, I think, original IPAs. I don't know. But I saw that and I couldn't resist, so I had to get it. And I don't know. It's a little different. It's not the same as IPAs we get over here. Oh, actually, I don't know if I've drank or have drunk an IPA in England before. But it's different, so it's kind of cool drinking it. Got some other good stuff. I got the Firestone Walker. Pilsner, extremely hoppy Pilsner, and then I got something else. I can't remember what the other beer was. So anyway, let me show you kind of what I got going on here. So this is my, I don't know if I can do this all in one footage. This is my SJPORR challenge entries that I'm getting ready. I got to put all the labels on and individually wrap the bottles and send them off to our Eastern hub here. I've already got my actually I watched a SJPORR video, and he talked about how to package your bottles so they don't break. So we'll see if his tips work. So I've used it before on the Sam Adams long shot, but I'll use SJPORR's tips on this sample. So it's a beer style is an Imperial Stout. Should be I don't know, we'll see. I took it into my office at work and let some folks try it, and they said they would pay money for it, so hopefully that's a good sign. The other thing I got going on, sorry it's getting a little dark here, I'm going to my temporary lager chamber, but see if you can see this. This is my lagering chamber here. Got my Oktoberfest sitting here lagering away. It's been about, it's coming up on 2 weeks. I think Saturday or Sunday will be 2 weeks, and it's still, if you can see it, it's still bubbling away, which is good. I have the remainder of my Virginia Imperial Bourbon Stout, smoked Virginia Imperial Smoked Bourbon Stout. Only a little bit left because I did a lot of bottling, and a couple of you guys I'm gonna ship off some beer mail to. So you'll get a little bit of that, and hopefully a little bit of my Imperial IPA that I have on tap right now. So, other than that, not a whole lot going on. I'm going to try to do a brew day. I think I got I made a recipe for a North English brown ale, so I'm going to try that. I usually have pretty good luck with brown ales, so hopefully this one turns out. What else? Anything else going on? Yeah, not much, not a whole lot. Kind of a odd time of year, it's right before football season, American football season, so we got another couple of weeks before we get our first game, before the temperature starts getting cold. I am so excited for the temperature to kind of drop a little bit, to get out of the 90s, because it makes it really hard to ferment. Now that I have the refrigerator, and I figured out the temperature control in the refrigerator, it'll be a little bit better. But even for the ales, down here in the basement, when I ferment during the winter, it's no problem. It's perfect, 68 to 71 degrees. But during the summer, it was getting up there, like 79, 80 degrees, so probably had a little bit of off taste in some of the ales I did over the summer. Now that I've got that refrigerator sorted out, I should be able to take care of that next summer. Anyway, yeah, not a whole lot going on. A lot of changes going on these days. I might talk about it in a later episode. Good news is I get to hang out here at my house and here on the East Coast for a lot longer than I had originally anticipated. So anyway, hey, all you guys out there entering the SJPORR challenge, good luck, and I can't wait to get this started. This should be a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to this for a while. So, cheers. Have a good homebrew, and have a happy Homebrew Wednesday. Hey, so I figured I'd come back on and ask a couple more questions, take advantage of this Homebrew Wednesday. Maybe not to give you updates, but to ask a few tips of the community, of the BrewTube community. You guys have a lot of experience, and I actually learned quite a bit watching a lot of y'all's videos. So let's see, a couple of questions I have. All right, so as you saw, I'm doing a lager, and this is my first time doing a lager. I've only been brewing for, I don't know, 10 months. So my question is, I think the primary fermentation will last about 2 weeks. It's still slowly bubbling. It has slowed down a little bit. And then I've kind of done some reading and looking at instructions on lagers, and it says you do a primary lager for about 2 weeks, and then you do a secondary or primary fermentation for 2 weeks, approximately 2 weeks. Then you do, and I would imagine you take a gravity sample to see if you've gotten the attenuation. Then you do a secondary lagering for, it could go anywhere from 4 weeks to like 3 months. Well, it's now coming up on September. We have a party, I think September 17th or 19th or something like that, or maybe it's September 20th. So I want to lager it for about 3 or 4 weeks. That makes sense. Yeah, lager for about 3 or 4 weeks, and hopefully it's ready. So I'm just curious, is that enough time, one, and two, to go into, because you're lagering for so many weeks, I think you want to get it off the yeast cake. So a secondary fermentation, meaning rack it off the yeast cake into another vessel. And then, so that's what I'm trying to find out. Is that what do you have to do that? I don't want to mess it up. I'm not used to fermenting this long. It's normally, I'm only fermenting for about 7 to 10 days. So I'm going to be going 2 weeks and then another 4 weeks. So is that what you're supposed to do? If you could, throw a comment in there, I would really, really appreciate that, because I don't want to screw up my first lager, because it's a long time. You have to wait for it, and it takes a while to make one. And if I like it, I'm probably going to, I'll make another one anyway. But I want to think about either doing another one for this season, or maybe doing some other kind of lager. Maybe a Vienna lager. I'd like to do a Vienna lager. I think that would be fun. I was doing some reading on beer history, and little subtle differences between Oktoberfest and a Vienna lager, but I actually like Vienna lagers. One of my favorite ones is Star Hill Jomo lager. I think that's a Vienna lager. It's pretty good. So anyway, so that was that question. And the second question is, so I harvested, I rinsed some yeast out of my Imperial Stout. It's pretty dark fluid sitting on top of it because it's Imperial Stout. So I'm wondering, one, how long can you leave that in the refrigerator? And then two, is the dark fluid of that, sitting on top of the yeast, is that gonna hurt another? Let's say if I try to do a London ale or some kind of English ale, brown ale or something, can I use that, or should I go ahead and get some more, British or London ale type yeast? Because as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a Northern English brown ale for my next beer, and I don't want to screw up the color by putting in that yeast if it's too dark. Anyway, just curious about your thoughts on that, if you have any experience with it. What I do find is when I used harvested yeast, they're usually a lot stronger than when I first get them out of vial. I usually get White Labs, and when I use the White Labs, it works well. It's kind of hit or miss sometimes depending on the gravity you're shooting for, but when I harvest, or when I rinse it and harvest it, they're almost 2 or 3 times stronger. I think that's normal. But anyway, if you could throw a comment in there too, I would appreciate it. Enjoy all the messages I get on the channel. Please, if you haven't subscribed, and interested in home brewing, and like what I have to say, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and I'll do the same. I really like building up the subscriptions, because it's kind of cool. Every Wednesday I go and look and see who's posted videos and get to go in and read, and it's really, really cool seeing all of the different perspectives around the world, and that's why I'm looking forward to the SJPORR challenge. And I think my kind of my dream at this point is to maybe go to some kind of homebrewing convention in the UK, if you guys ever have one, or somewhere, maybe Australia. Well, that's kind of hard to get to, but you know, anyway, I met some Australians last week during a work conference I was in, and had a blast with those guys. We were actually, I'll share this story with you. We're in this brewery called Brickway Brewery in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm sitting there, and this guy, I'll go up to the bar to get a beer, and this guy has just gotten he's got a couple of glasses of beer he's getting ready to pay for, and it looks like Oktoberfest. And I said, hey, is that Oktoberfest? And he goes, yeah. I said, oh, cool. I just brewed an Oktoberfest, and it's sitting in my lager chamber. I was just, you know, so I'm going to order one. I'm just curious if it's any good. So the guy sitting at the bar, kind of on the other side of me, he's like, oh, are you a home brewer? And I'm like, yeah. So I show him a picture of my setup, and we got to talking, and, you know, it's really cool, the community. You run into people, and but anyway, later that night, there was some Australians in our conference, and we got to talking and had a great time. So anyway, here's my second farewell. Have a happy homebrew, and have a happy Homebrew Wednesday, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs. She's been looking like a queen in a sail.